Hey there, Al Iverson here. Time for another one of your email authentication and deliverability questions answered. This time around, we're going to talk about human readability when it comes to email headers, courtesy of this question from Don. It's timely too. He's asking, how do you look at email headers and actually tell what's going on there? And I thought this would be a great thing to sort of tie it back to email authentication and show how mailbox providers, in particular Gmail, how they reveal that authentication information to an end recipient so that you can make some sort of informed decision about whether or not an email message is legitimate. Perhaps not always perfectly. There's a lot of limitations there. It can get tricky. But what made me think of this whole thing, too, is this blog post that I just wrote for the Valimail blog, where I talk about a story from National Public Radio. Shows a Chinese dissident, the story of a Chinese dissident living in the Netherlands and how the Chinese government is sort of messing with them remotely. It's very unfortunate to read, but if you dig deep into this, and they talk a lot about emails and fake emails, and even NPR highlights that the messages that they were shown, the samples that they were shown, did not originally include the email headers, so they were just screenshots of the body and not showing any header information at all. And when they finally got the email headers, they were not from any sort of legitimate authority. They were just from some one or more Proton Mail accounts, just another webmail provider. Could have easily just been sending that from Gmail or Yahoo. And so would this gentleman who was being harassed be able to tell if the emails are valid or not if he had that header information, if he had the domain information? Unfortunately, the person in question didn't grasp the significance of domain names, so that might not have helped him. But it got me thinking of how can we help drive better knowledge there. It's always a challenge. There's a lot of it can get very technical very quickly trying to understand email authentication and whether or not something's valid or not. So an end user looking at it might not always get it right perfectly, but I thought it would be valuable to try to share what I look at and help you understand what checks or comparisons I'm doing when I look at to see if I think email message is validly authenticated or legitimate or not. So to do that, I think Gmail is the way to do that. They highlight some header information in a way that makes it very easy to digest. So here we are in my Gmail inbox. I picked a message from earlier today. There's a 3 dots menu there along the right. I think it's just cut off by the edge of the picture, but you can click on that 3 dots menu and select Show Original. What happens when you click that? Up pops this little display here where Gmail excerpts and highlights some very important information from the email headers below. There's a whole bunch of detailed information below, but like as Don alludes to, that's a mess. There's a lot of it. It can get very technical. But Gmail highlighted just a handful of things here at the top, from to subject, but more importantly for me, the authentication results. And then what I'm looking for here are the results for SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. Unfortunately, this sender did not use DMARC, which is a bummer. I think somebody sending lottery emails, I think that's a potential target for phishing and spoofing. Anything related to financial services or winning money or anything like that, I think there's a missed opportunity there. But if you look at the results, the SPF results say pass and the DKIM results say pass. The domain for DKIM says IllinoisLottery.com. That matches the from address there. So that's what we call alignment when we see if an SPF domain or a DKIM domain matches the from domain. That's called alignment. So that's a pretty solid indicator that the message is probably legitimate. Now, there's lookalike domains and silly stuff that people could try to do to fake it. So always be wary, right? If something's too good to be true, it probably is, right? Always verify. Don't assume, and don't just randomly hand over financial information or login credentials in response to an email message, no matter how good it looks. But for a starting point, trying to look at email headers, what are the authentication results? I look at this here, and the stuff looks like it's passing. I'm not seeing any failures, right? That's what I'm looking for, is failures for SPF and DKIM and DMARC. So that's a good thing. New York Times is another one that's doing it right. Click on that 3 dots menu again and do Show Original. This time we do have DMARC. DMARC pass, DKIM pass, Domain name is newyorktimes.com, SPF pass as well. It's not so much that I care what the specific IP address is for SPF passing, but it's that it says pass. And so whatever the return path or SPF domain is in this message below, it's been set up properly to say that mail for this domain comes from this set of IP addresses, and the server sending the mail passes that check. That's one of the IPs they put in the SPF record. And that DMARC check passing is the last bit of it, the important bit of it there, that DMARC requires alignment, right? I talked about alignment in the last header there, that one of these settings has to match the from address, and that's what alignment is. So from is newyorktimes.com, DKIM is newyorktimes.com, solid indicator that this is truly from newyorktimes.com. Spammers can authenticate mail too. Here's an example of somebody spamming. It looks like they might have set up or relayed messages through a Microsoft O365 instance, right? Anytime somebody sets up a new email account or a new email service, you don't know if they're a good guy or not, right? And so somebody can jump on just about any service and send some amount of mail and try to spam until they get caught and shut off. But so for this example message here, we've got an SPF failure. And we've also got that DKIM pass with that on Microsoft.com. Dead giveaway again that it's Microsoft O365, and it's not certainly not some brand or company that I have been waiting to hear from, right? That I was expecting to hear from. Has nothing to do with the from address domain in there. So this is just all garbage spam in the body anyway, but just wanted to highlight, here's an example of spammers can try to authenticate, and sometimes they'll get it wrong, but sometimes they'll get it right too. And so you can look, and sometimes that'll say pass. They could even, bad guys could even set up DMARC. So it's important to look at this and look for reasons to call a message invalid, to invalidate a message. Look for failures. Look for when they get some part of it wrong, and let that guide you. Be suspicious and be wary as well. Right? There's one more example here where it can pass all the tests, but it's coming from a server in Germany, but supposedly somebody wants to buy my home. It's not anything I legitimately signed up for. It's just junk, garbage. So what did I do to get those results, right? I selected View Original for those messages in my Gmail inbox to see those authentication results. And what was I doing there? I'm looking for reasons that a message may be invalid, right? Knowing the right domain, right? In that article from National Public Radio, it was the Dutch Immigration Authority was supposedly sending emails, but they were coming from Proton Mail, right? They don't send mail from protonmail.com. They have their own legitimate, I think, ind.nl domain, and they probably use that for email. Keeping in mind, like I just said there, like legitimate companies, big brands and governments are not using webmail and free mail to send email messages. What are you doing when you look at these headers? You're looking for authentication failures. SPF, DKIM, and DMARC either missing or not passing. If there's no DKIM and no DMARC and you don't recognize the domain, any of that stuff missing or failing, that's a reason to suspect that the message is not valid. And then, of course, be wary even if it passes. There's lookalike domains and cousin domains. Like, if somebody set up Valimail1.com and started sending mail as that, they could authenticate that. It would get a bad reputation after a while if it was sending spam or phish. But for a period there, they'd be able to get a few messages through that authenticate as Valimail1.com. But we don't send mail as Valimail1.com, right? We only send it as Valimail.com. So that's a way to understand, like, what's the usual domain you're expecting to get email from somebody. For senders, this is also an important thing to remember, that when sending mail, don't go off brand and don't fall down the trap of cousin domains or lookalike domains. You don't want to train your user base to accept mail from you from any domain, because if you can send mail from various domains and you tell your users that's okay, bad guys could sneak in there and more easily trick them because they're expecting it. It's something that they've already seen. And then finally, be suspicious. Verify it out of band, right? If you're getting a request for financial information or payment information, verify if that's correct. Even if you check the headers and it all passes, somebody could have hacked into that email account and it could be legitimately sent from that server or service, but somebody used a password that they shouldn't have to get into an account to send you that message. So when in doubt, again, if something's too good to be true, it probably is, but also verify any sort of request for personal information or financial information if you can, and if it's something you don't recognize. It's a little bit different, when I get my email from Amazon that tells me that my order is about to arrive, my groceries are about to arrive, versus something that comes out of nowhere from a different domain that says, please give me updated payment information, right? One of them is just a status notification. It could be coming from the right domain, versus something else, whether or not it's coming from the right domain, it's asking me for payment information that I already have on file, and I'm already suspicious of that request. So keep in mind, be skeptical, be wary, and verify. And of course, hey, senders, protect your email domains with DMARC, and so that you don't have to worry about if bad guys are sending phishing and spoofing emails pretending to be you. We are DMARC experts. We are here to help. Visit our website at valimail.com for more information. And if you have any ideas for future questions that I can answer here, please drop me an email at al.iverson@valimail.com. Thanks, and have a great day.